If you start parking your car and seeing this, see the dripping going on there. And it appears to be coming from the AC compressor, which is right there. And you see there's your oil filter and your crank pulley above it. If you see a coolant leak that starts, it looks like it's coming from the compressor, the alternator, or even the lower oil pan, that's your water pump. Most of the time, it's just the seals themselves in the water pump, the two O-rings that go bad. They dry up, get brittle, start to crack, and start leaking. Sometimes you can actually see it leaking from up here. And a lot of time you can just replace those two O-rings and call it good. This time, I've never seen an OEM pump go bad, personally. They've always been the O-rings, and you can get both O-rings from a Nissan dealer for about $8, $9, something like that. I think it's like $4 or $5 a piece. Aftermarket pumps, however, all the ones I replaced have been bad. You can actually grab the timing gear, move it up and down, and see shaft play. And in that case, it's not just leaking past the O-rings, which it probably is, but it's also leaking past that inner shaft that connects the timing gear to the impeller. And it's leaking past those bearings and seals down out of the weep hole. Here's an OEM water pump. It's actually the original from the Pearl I replaced about 5 years ago. But you can see it sits in the timing cover like this. Timing chain's driven on this gear right here. Here's the impeller on the back that does the actual pumping of the water. You have two O-rings that go in these grooves right here. Here's my replacement pump. This inner O-ring is that's the coolant side. This outer O-ring, that's the timing chain side where the oil is. These separate oil from coolant. Then you have this center section, which should be dry, but when you have the inner O-ring start leaking, it'll come out into the center section, and there's a channel inside the timing cover that'll drip out right near the compressor. Or if you have shaft play, I'll show you the old pump when I get it out. I already know it's bad. It'll leak past that inside the shaft right here. It'll come out this weep hole. You can see there's one there, one there. There's two of them here. So I believe it sits in like this. But start leaking out here, and again draining it near the compressor. So if you have an OEM pump, personally what I'd do is get two of the O-rings from Nissan and then pick up a pump also. Aftermarket or OEM is your choice. I prefer OEM in this case and going aftermarket just because I'm cheap. GMB from Advance, it's like $50. New, no core. I don't like reman anything. Starters and alternators, especially not. Water pumps, especially not. But that's just personal preference. When you get your new pump, chances are the O-rings will not be on it. You have to put them on there. You want to walk them on very carefully. There we go. Now, the OEM pump, this is all nice and smooth. You won't cut up your O-rings. I don't know if it's because it's well worn or if it's because, well, it's just higher quality. It's OEM. This is your GMB pump. This one actually has sharp edges where they've cut the O-ring reliefs here, these grooves. So you want to walk these on carefully. Now you have two different size O-rings. You got a bigger one and a smaller one. Just barely different. You can see right there, they kind of overlap. Now your large one, I'll take and put on first. Just slide it over the blades on this impeller here. And just kind of roll it down to the first groove. You get your slack and start rolling it down to the second groove. You kind of want to roll it nice and even. You don't want to put any undue pressure on it. If you try to force it down, you'll probably end up cutting it on one of these grooves here, and then your water pump, then you'll have a leak. Now your second one, this one's a little tighter. Again, just around the blades in this impeller, and just walk it down. And there you go. This one is ready for installation. Now, there's some things you're going to need. Well, there's a lot of things you're going to need for this job, but first of all, what the hell is it? I like to use a bungee cord. You'll need one of those, decently long, like a foot or so. I'll show you why later. That really comes in handy. And also, you'll need something to compress the tensioner with. This is just some wire, mechanics wire, I guess you'd call it, or baling wire or whatever. Just some decently thin wire. This actually happens to be perfect for compressing, for holding the tensioner back. That's something you'll need in order to get it out without popping the damn piston and spring out into the timing cover. Been there. It's not fun. You don't need it, but it definitely makes the job easier. Also, before you start, the parts you'll need are, oh, Jesus, obviously your new water pump. You'll need coolant, or unless you just plan on running straight water, or water and water wetter, or whatever. You'll need oil and a filter, preferably a filter, but you'll need oil. When you pull the pump out, like I said, these two rings separate oil and coolant. When you pull the pump out, whatever's left in the cooling system, well, at least this high, it's going to run out into the timing cover and down into the oil pan. So first thing I do, well, first I disconnect the battery, because if that remote start activates while I got the damn oil drains, it'd be a very bad day. Or while your hands are in the timing cover. Disconnect the battery, drain the cooling system, drain the oil, leave the drain plug out, and just leave the drain pan underneath the oil pan. Because whenever water goes in there, you want to get it out ASAP. You may have RTV. I've been turned on to the ultra gray piece of shit. I like the ultra gray for pretty much everything. You need RTV to clean up or to reseal the timing cover plates, access covers, and the lower oil pan should you choose to remove it. Also some brake clean would help for cleaning things up. And I like to lube up the O-rings on the pump before I install it. And for that I've just got some silicone lube. Some stuff I left over from work. Just brake lube. Just rub on the O-rings so they actually slide in there. They don't have to be forced in. So after you got your battery disconnected, you've got your coolant drains, and you've got your oil drain with the drain pan still sitting underneath there, ready to catch any water that comes out. Next step to do is take off your belts. I have a video on that. Or take off your AC belt, your AC alternator belt, the main belt. I've got a video on that. Take off the tensioner bracket for that belt. And I like to take off the left side motor mount, or right side motor mount. Just gives you more room. You have to jack up the engine if you do that to get the water pump out, since it's kind of wedged up in there, but it just gives you more room to reach in there and work. It only takes about another 10 minutes to take off. So that's my personal choice. So after you've done all that, I'll go ahead and get into removing and replacing the water pump. Now, there's your excess cover. This black piece here. Excess cover for the water pump. Before you do anything to that, gotta remove. Damn, this autofocus sucks. In the camera. Gotta remove. There you are. That black piece right there, that's the access cover for the tensioner. There you can see it right here. The bolt sticking out of it, right above the power steering belt. There's your water pump access cover. I like to remove these just using a 10mm ratchet wrench. That's what I found to be the easiest and quickest. Got 4 bolts holding it on. And you can get to these, it looks like a pain in the ass, you can get to these with that motor mount bracket still in. This makes it so much easier. Loosen up all those bolts and take them out by hand. I removed the crank sensor, or sorry, the cam sensor, just to again give me some more space to work, just like removing that motor mount gives you. Like I said, if you remove that motor mount, you'll probably have to jack the engine up to finagle the water pump out, because it can be quite tricky to get it out of there. In fact, you can see a recess in the frame rail right in front of the water pump access cover. Without that recess, you would not be getting the water pump out of there. Short of raising the engine up quite a bit. Once you get all 4 bolts out, these are sealed up with RTV, like everything else on a damn Nissan. So you have to pry it off and There you go. There's your water pump access cover. There. Now, once you're done with that cover, go ahead and do the same with the tensioner cover in the back. It's too hard to show on camera, so I won't. But same concept. Just use a 10mm ratchet wrench, loosen them all up, throw them out by hand, and pry the cover plate off with a pry bar. Okay, once you've got the water pump and timing cover access plates off, and ready to start dealing with the tensioner. Now, you can see right there's your tensioner. I've got two 10mm head bolts that go through here, hold the tensioner on. And here you have a piston that you can see right there. The wire's holding back. There's a spring underneath it. Now if you just try to pull the tensioner out, remove both bolts, guess what's going to happen? That's going to happen. Piston's going to pop out along with this. Piston is going to pop out along with the spring, and they'll probably go inside your timing cover, and you don't want that to happen. If you have a flexible magnet or a magnet on a piece of wire or string or something, you can give that a shot, but good luck. I prefer to just compress the piston and install a keeper to hold that piston back. And I was talking about the wire earlier. This is some little quick and easy to make. Just a couple of rolls down here for your finger, and a straight piece sticking to the tensioner. Cheap and easy. Got some of these that came with timing chain and belt tensioners over the years, but that's the easiest way to make one from a shit you have laying around. So, quick side note, it's actually kind of perfect to see it here. You can see right now that water pump is leaking. That's actually leaking out into the oil. Both O-rings. That shaft just completely pissing. So, oh well, you can hope that, or it could be a damaged timing cover that can't seal up to the O-rings, in which case that's not fun at all. Okay, I don't have the tensioner out yet, but I now have it pinned back successfully. Now what I do for these is, well, first you can see I bungee cord this fucking power steering reservoir up and out of the way because it can be a pain in the ass. School bus. What I do is first I stuff a rag up underneath the tensioner just in case no bolts fall out. It's that blue thing at the bottom. So no bolts fall down, or if the piston and spring do come out of the tensioner, they don't fall down. Hopefully it's easier to retrieve them with the rag. Now you can see the pin is in. What I do for that is I loosen the lower bolt. Where's my piece of wire? What I do for that is I loosen this lower bolt, then I take out the top bolt entirely so it pivots back, and then you can get a long screwdriver in there and push the tensioner all the way in. While you're doing that, slide the pin in. The easiest way I've found, I've got my screwdriver kind of wedged up inside the that pocket for that motor mount on the frame rail, and I'm holding that with my right hand. I get my left hand down in there, and I've got that wire curled around and coming out underneath my index finger. So I just kind of sneak my hand up and alongside the motor while I'm pushing down on that screwdriver to get that piston recessed all the way in, and just kind of get that wire right into the tensioner with my finger. You gotta make sure you get it all the way in. If you only get it a little bit over the tensioner, it'll probably just bend and the piston will fucking pop right out. And that's what you were trying to avoid. Now when you go to remove this tensioner, since you've got it compressed, that guide is going to want to be in your way. So what I do for that is, it's another reason I said bungee cord. Reach down in there, grab that guide, and pull it back as hard as you can. Get that bungee cord out here. I hook it onto the hood latch. So the guide's out of the way. Now we can go ahead and pull out that tensioner. What the fuck is my socket?